And thanks for staying with us. Let's turn now to your final headlines of the day. ISIS militants take over a key town in Iraq. This video shows what appears to be Iraqi army vehicles fleeing the city of Ramadi after ISIS killed 500 people, including soldiers. 8,000 people left the city after the terror group took control yesterday. This comes after U.S. Special Forces killed a top ISIS leader in Syria over the weekend. Meanwhile, food and supplies arrive in Yemen after Saudi Arabia resumed airstrikes against Houthi rebels. A 5-day truce ended yesterday. The Saudis have been conducting the military campaign against the Shia Muslims for more than 6 weeks. Pope Francis canonizes 4 nuns, including 2 from 19th century Palestine. The church says the Pope hopes to encourage Christians across the Middle East who face persecution from Islamic extremists. Secretary of State John Kerry has been in South Korea talking more sanctions on North Korea. He says the U.S. and China are in talks about the sanctions since North Korea is, in his words, not even close to reining in its nuclear program.
All right, well, David Bazell, the executive director of a conservative activism group, says Jeb Bush doesn't seem to have a critical thing to say about anybody.
Yeah, he says, on the other hand, a few criticisms of the former Florida governor during an interview with Newsmax's Steve Malzberg. Take a listen.
Now, as the international community moves...
Frankly, I just don't think he has a shot at winning. I just don't think he can beat Hillary Clinton in a general election for a couple of different reasons, but namely that clip. That speech, it gives Hillary Clinton all the ammunition that she needs to bury him in a general election. He would be, frankly, intellectually dishonest if he tried to attack her record as Secretary of State or the First Lady or anything that she did in public life, having given her a Lifetime Achievement Award for public service, having lauded her with so many compliments, and her husband for the dedication to public life. It would be intellectually dishonest for him to be able to try to criticize her, and frankly, spinning it forward, it would be intellectually dishonest if any one of his surrogates were to do the same thing. He seems to have kept his gloves on regarding the Obama administration, regarding Hillary, at every turn. He doesn't seem to have a critical thing to say about anybody. You have no idea. The result of that being is you have no idea what makes him any different from a Democrat. That's going to be a problem for him.
Interesting. I had forgotten about that Lifetime Achievement Award that Jeb Bush gave Hillary Clinton a while back.
Oh. Well, they're really close, though. You know, it's got to be a really strange dynamic because the Bush family and the Clintons have been pretty close now for quite some time. So I don't think they'll be doing many commingling in the next year.
Well, let's also talk about this day in history. Pope John Paul II was born a long time ago. Abraham Lincoln was nominated for the presidency even before that, and the Supreme Court ruled on Plessy versus Ferguson. And when you're not watching our regular live programming here on Newsmax TV, you can catch some of our historic documentaries that also take a look at important moments in history, like this one, John Glenn entering space.
He had served in 2 wars and flown over 150 combat missions. But in just 60 seconds, this Marine Corps officer would experience a ride like no other. At 9:47 a.m. on the 20th of February, 1962, Lieutenant Colonel John Glenn, Jr. of New Concord, Ohio, found himself sitting on top of an Atlas 6 rocket filled with 600,000 pounds of fuel. At liftoff, 360,000 pounds of thrust hurled the massive rocket and its occupant into space and America's history books. John Glenn became the 4th human being to enter space and the first American to orbit the Earth. For his remarkable heroism, President Kennedy awarded Colonel Glenn NASA's Distinguished Service Medal.
As our knowledge of this universe in which we live increases, may God grant us the wisdom and guidance to use it wisely. Thank you, Colonel.
Glenn went on to become the United States Senator from Ohio, and in 1984 ran for the Democratic presidential nomination, but lost to Walter Mondale. You're watching An American Moment on Newsmax TV.
Love hearing about that era
I
of U.S.
love
history.
Bill Curtis's voice, though.
Everybody loves Bill Curtis's voice, goes without saying.
That's true.
Coming up, we're going to look ahead in a few minutes. We're going to take a look at the president's speech upcoming later today. He's going to be meeting with law enforcement officials in Camden, New Jersey at a high-tech real-time monitoring station. This comes as the president and the White House announcing today that they're going to scale back this federal program which donates surplus military equipment to local police departments.
And of course, this all comes after the public outcry that came after following those protests in places like Ferguson, Missouri. So certain things are not going to be in use anymore. And also, we're going to talk with the author, Gigi Stetler, the story of a girl who just wouldn't give up. This is going to be great to talk to her. We're going to talk about her new book called The Unstoppable. So it should be pretty interesting.
All right, we'll look forward to that.
Yeah.
Of course, we'll have the latest headlines coming up at the top of the hour. And make sure you stay tuned to Newsmax TV and Newsmax.com throughout the course of the day. We'll be here with you until 4 p.m., followed by Midpoint with Ed Berliner, and then the Steve Malzberg Show at 5 p.m. Stay tuned. Newsmax TV, more to come.